Hey everybody, it's Andrew Malkoski with the Denver 100, and I'm here hanging out with Jacob Lamb with Ion Solar. We've been talking all things solar here, and one of the questions I had for you was about ongoing maintenance,
Yeah.
right? When somebody buys one of these solar panels, what kind of maintenance costs are there over the life of the solar panel?
So there really isn't any. They come with a 25-year warranty, and
Okay,
that does include the product and the labor. And that warranty is through Silfab Solar, who is the biggest manufacturer in North America for solar. And I actually just got back from the leadership retreat in Washington, D.C., where we had a rep from that company come and talk to us and gave me a staggering stat. For every 100,000 panels they've sent us since 2018, only one on average needs to be sent out with an issue.
that's amazing.
So the odds you ever deal with it are very slim, but if you do, you do have that 25-year warranty to cover both the product and the labor, and you will know it right away because you have an app from Ion that sends notifications if something gets below a normal production level. So there's no ongoing maintenance costs. They're really just designed to be like shingles where they sit on your roof and you never have to touch them.
That's interesting. So, I mean, literally, you would have more maintenance with just your roof
Yep.
than you would with a solar panel.
Yep.
And what about Colorado here? We've got a lot of wind,
Yeah.
hail, insurance issues there.
Yeah.
How do they hold up for that kind of thing?
They're extremely durable, more durable than your roof by a lot. These panels specifically, they are military grade panels. Silfab is actually the preferred vendor for the US government,
Oh, interesting.
which means they have steel reinforcements and a higher pressure of tempered glass. So they're able to withstand golf ball size hail, moving 120 miles per hour.
Wow,
Much stronger than your roof. I've been doing solar for almost 5 years. I've never had a panel get damaged due to hail.
interesting.
Yep.
And one of the things that I deal with all the time
Yeah.
as a real estate agent is I get the question: Does the solar add value
Yeah.
to the property?
Yeah.
And I mean, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It adds value to the property. And what I try to tell people is that there are very few things that we can do to our houses that increase the value dollar for dollar.
Sure.
You spend $100 or 100,000, you get 100,000 of value. It's very, very few things that are like that.
Yeah.
Solar is similar. You're going to increase the value. I think the bigger thing that we deal with is what happens when I move.
Yeah.
Right? So let me ask you this question. What percentage of the people that are buying a system from Ion are financing that over 20 years or whatever?
I would say between 95 and 98%, almost all of them.
So, and does Ion do leases?
We do, but that's not our preferred method.
Sure.
It's more of like a backup if all else fails kind of thing.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're trying to get you to own the system.
Yeah. And that's the biggest piece of advice I would tell anybody from a real estate standpoint is that you want to own that system,
Yep.
right? Because the value in that system when you sell, like if you have a loan, if it is financed, you really got to pay that off when you sell the property,
Yep.
right? So you're going to get some value out of that. The lease is more of an obstruction to the transaction.
Yep.
Because now you have a solar lease on a property that has to go with the property.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to sell that property, and now the buyer has to assume
Yep.
that lease in addition to purchasing the home, right?
Yep.
And so when we do like debt to income ratio calculations for a buyer, now they have this other debt on
Yep.
this leased system.
Yeah.
And you don't ever own it. I mean, it's just like it's like renting, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's so little value in that.
Yeah.
But when you finance it over time and you lock in that payment, or
Yep.
if you're one of the lucky few that can just stroke the check and be done with it, right?
Yep.
Own the system.
Yeah.
That's the way to be, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I always say the same thing. It will add value to your home. How much? I can't tell you exactly, right? There's figures as low as 1%. I've seen figures as high as 4 to 5. But what I am confident in saying is that it's not going to decrease the value of your home.
Oh yeah.
Because it is an asset, right? And it does save the new homeowners money, right? Because whatever bill you had 10 years ago when you set this up, it would have been a lot higher right now,
Yeah.
right? And that was the payment they were expecting to take on.
Right.
So if they can take on no payment or a reduced payment, that is going to save them money. And I see it even in the new home space. Lennar Homes builds a ton of solar communities where
Yep.
every single house has solar before people will move in.
Yep.
They don't do that for no reason, right?
Yeah.
They sell a lot of houses. They've done a lot of market research to show that people look for those homes and people are willing to pay a little bit of a premium for those homes. So if they, with their market research have found that, I'm confident saying that it is accurate.
Yeah, I think it's good. And the younger generations of home buyers now, it's far more important to them.
Yeah.
And they're really looking at it going, oh, this is a huge plus if the house that I love has this as part of it. And I think that we're going to continue to see more and more of that. Last question that I had for you. You and I had a discussion, and I wanted to get more information about it, but not every area is going to be eligible to have solar. Is that right?
That is correct.
So Excel is literally capping the number of homes in any particular area that can have a solar system.
Exactly.
That is nuts to me.
It is nuts. And the reason that they're able to do that is because with this net metering program, they're still providing a service, right? They're allowing you to connect into their grid, sell your power back at a 1-to-1 rate. And it's not to say in 20 years from now when that program is gone, you won't be able to do solar, but it won't make sense financially because you'll need to buy a battery. You'll need to get way more panels because you're not getting the credits back from Excel. So what they've done is they've actually had areas where they already have enough people doing it. They already have enough backfeed coming into the grid, and people that are applying in those areas are getting denied. And anybody can look it up. It's called the hosting capacity map. It's on Excel's website. You can type in your address and see what kind of zone you're in. But you want to make sure you get in before it's too late because, like I said before, whether it's coming from your roof or it's coming from Excel, it's ultimately all going to be solar. But the way that they would rather do it is they would rather build these massive solar farms and just charge you for the cost as opposed to you getting it yourself.
Yeah, because then they own it instead of you owning it.
Exactly.
That's crazy. So let me ask you this, and maybe this is ridiculous, but if somebody did get turned down, could they theoretically just buy a couple of batteries and completely disconnect from the grid and produce their own? But that's it. I mean, like the battery goes down or whatever, they use it all up. They're just done until it powers back up.
Yeah,
but they could go off grid.
They could, and that's something that people think about, but it's not feasible. To be looking at for a $30,000 connected grid system, you're going to be spending 80 to 100 for an off-grid system. So the people that do solar, the main chunk of people that are doing this as a way to save on a monthly bill, build a little bit more equity in their property. It's not going to make sense for them. For the 1% that's doing it because they want to, it maybe will, but it won't make sense for most people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today.
Thank you.
This is a lot of great information. If you have any questions about solar, give my friend Jacob a call. This is a lot of great stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.